What is going on, comic fans? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark, and today we are talking absolute DC from Batman to Wonder Woman and to Superman. So we're going to get into all of these. We're going to rank them. We're going to talk about the stories. We're going to talk about what I think about the stories, as well as a little more detail on them, and talk about this big rollout. This was DC's biggest rollout of the year. Let's see how it stacked up. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's go. Hit the description down below. You can find some links to some fantastic resources in this amazing hobby, from online retailer Big Time Collectibles, cleaning and pressing services with JustinComicx. You can also submit comics for you. And if you need any kind of new comics, pool list started, tabletop gaming, stuff like that, ABX Comics and Games has got you covered. Their Facebook group is linked down below as well. So let's get into it. Absolute DC was probably the biggest, most exciting thing for comics this year for me. I'm a DC guy. It's kind of my go-to. It was really hyped up, great marketing campaign for it. It was really present on social media, and as it rolled out, it was huge. Absolute Batman went to a second print before the issue actually released. So before we even got it in our hands, before we even read it, they were already going back to a second print. And once it released, it went to a third print. I believe it might be on its way to a fourth print or announced already, somewhere in between. But Wonder Woman, the same thing. The week before it released, it got called sold out from the distributor level and back to a second print. And then Absolute Superman release, sold out at the distributor level and back to a second print. So Batman, from what I understand, did over like 250,000 copies, which is huge for modern comics. Absolute Wonder Woman, from what I think I saw, was like at 150,000 copies. So I haven't seen the numbers for Absolute Superman yet, but I have seen where Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are the top 3 selling comics right now. So they're resonating. They got people excited. A lot of people that might not have tried DC yet, or a lot of people that might have been taking a break from comics, they're picking these up. They're checking these out. They're, from what I understand, pretty much enjoying these. So hopefully they're enjoying them. That's what we're going to talk about today, is if I enjoyed them or how much I enjoyed them. And we're going to rank these bad boys. So I want to know what your ranking is as well. Even if you haven't read all 3, let me know what you thought of the one you did read, rank the ones you did, and leave some comments. Let's get some discussion going. But first up is the first one to release, the one that kickstarted it, which is interesting because obviously in main continuity DC, Superman kickstarted and started it all. But in this absolute world, Batman was the first character that we were actually introduced to. Technically, it was Wonder Woman, then Batman, then Superman in the All-In special, but I digress. The comics released in the order of Batman, Wonder Woman, and then Superman. So, Absolute Batman number 1, written by Scott Snyder, the architect behind all this. Artwork by Nick Dragotta. Very fantastic, very dynamic. Fits the story well. This is the hulking Batman. The dude's massive. So in here, everybody knows it's a different take on the character. The world that this exists in is literally created of Darkseid, not just by Darkseid, but the actual world is Darkseid. It's absolutely wild. So this different take on Batman really landed for me. It wasn't just the idea of him having a slightly different origin, but it's the kind of the total package thing. It was the shock value of this being our first kind of real window into this world. So everything that was a little bit different, from Batman not being the billionaire, the suit having so many different utility aspects to it, how violent the world was, how grimy it was. Every single step I took where something like that was shown to the readers, it really landed for me. It was really the shock value, the anticipation, and then getting the payoff, because the book really did pay off. It left us wondering if certain characters like Jim Gordon were even alive or dead. We didn't know. You'll find out later. I know, but you got to read issue 2 to find out. So for me, this was a huge hit. It did everything I wanted it to. The artwork, while I did see a couple of people weren't like big fans of it, I felt like it was the perfect art for the title. It really helps with the overall tone of what Gotham is, especially this Gotham, which is, on a base level, the city's very recognizable. It's almost just like an amped up crime level to a Gotham that we already know. It's the characters, the players that are the big deviation from what we're used to. So for me, I gave it a solid 9 out of 10. It delivered. Expectations were high and they were met across the board. And leave me a comment. Again, I want to know your ranking down below. Next up on the list was Absolute Wonder Woman. So this one out of the 3 was the least on my expectations list, or at least my hype list. I'll put it that way. The one I was least excited about. I want to tell you now, I was ridiculously excited for all three of these. So I'm not saying that I'm like, oh, Wonder Woman. No, it's not it at all. It's just of the three, I'm a Superman guy. Then Batman would probably be next, and then Wonder Woman right behind that. And that's almost shifting right now, to be honest with you. Wonder Woman stuff has me more excited to read right now as a whole than probably both of them right now, just where current Wonder Woman comic is and now what's going on with this one. But we have Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman doing the art in this one, and Jordi Belair on color. So this was what I thought was going to be a Hail Mary. This was going to be a long shot for Kelly Thompson to deliver the story that stacks up with Absolute Batman. Scott Snyder's the mastermind behind all this. He's also probably like the most proven Batman writer in modern times from his run on New 52. You'd be hard pressed to find another writer that did so much for the character that he did. You have to go back to the 80s, like Denny O'Neil stuff. So I thought Kelly Thompson had a really difficult job ahead of her. Then I read the book. Kelly Thompson did not come to play. She came to deliver, and she did tenfold. Diana had so many deviations to this character, so many more than we saw in Batman, being raised in hell, raised by Cersei. We got the little tease of the gods having like the spat with the Amazons and her being the last one. The idea that even the word Amazon is something that shouldn't be uttered into the ether anymore. And then our introduction, seeing that fighting spirit that Diana has, we felt that familiarity to the character, that no stop spirit. It was all there. And the way that this story was structured was really its strongest point for me. We got the introduction in the beginning, then we got the story of her being delivered to Cersei and hell, being raised, and then we cut back to the battle, and then we see her hitting the wall, looking like she was about to be beaten in battle. But then we go back to the final flashback where you really see her find out who she is through her own self-recognition and how that translated into the battle. And when she hits that battle cry moment and just like that true self, that true warrior, that Amazon comes out, it was a moment. It was a huge moment. And I felt that rally inside me, and the way that was structured, and it was so beautifully done. It was so soft and so innocent and so heartfelt in the flashback to turning it into a moment of triumph in the actual fight. It was amazing. And then the way that they left us with the awesome stinger with her down and out, and the whole Harbinger telling her, like, if you insist, I'll take you out, and her reaching into her bag and pulling the lasso out for the first time. Lasso's familiar, but this one looks different. And her pulling it out and telling the Harbinger that she insists, and kind of leaving us on her charge to victory. Like that was awesome. The structure was amazing. The story, like I said, was heartfelt, dynamic, action-packed. It hit on all cylinders. I had to give this one a 9 out of 10 also. And then lastly, the one that I was most excited for is Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval's Superman. I'm a Superman guy. My favorite DC character. I'm a Superman guy. He's the one, he's it. He is him. So this one I was excited about for numerous reasons. And Jason Aaron did a really, really good job with this. Now, I feel like this one gives us the most character deviations away from what we are used to, from the dynamic of Krypton to Kal-El himself. So in this one, like with Krypton, they changed the entire societal structure where Jor-El and Lara are lowly workers. They gave us the concept that the Shield is not the House of El, but it's their station in the class of citizens that they are. They're the lowliest workers. They have that crest on their chest, where the science class that rules Krypton has the familiar sun that cuts back all the way to the 1930s comics. So the Easter eggs were all there. The structure of Krypton was fantastic. And then watching that, we got a completely familiar Kal-El kind of hopping around. The rest of the story is either on Krypton or it takes place in Brazil, where workers are being kind of exploited for their labor by the Lazarus company, the Lazarus Project. That's the company that we learn in this that has that Peacemaker army. And they're pretty much just like security workers with high-tech gear. That high-tech gear looks like Peacemaker. So we see him operating to help these people that are being exploited, fighting some Peacemakers. And I got to tell you, of the three, the artwork in this one leaps and bounds the best one. Rafa Sandoval crushes it, and it fits perfectly. And then we get little shots, like we see Kal-El hiding away in his little house with like cords plugged into him, solar panel out, trying to charge from the solar rays, but having to use technology to do it, which was unique and we've never seen before. There was a moment where somebody actually mentions that they were wondering if the Omega Men were involved. So now we have the concept or introduction of the Omega Men, and wondering to what capacity we'll see them later in the story, or what they will even look like. So there's a lot that we have to look forward to and unpack. Now, pacing wise, it's a little more slow than the rest. It's more of a one-on-one dialogue with Laura Kent and the people she's talking to, with Cal and the workers he's talking to. The action scene is huge, dynamic, fast-paced. But all in all, I had to give this one, I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. So how am I going to rank the entirety of them? This is where it comes in. So shock value, Batman wins. Just love of character, trying to keep my bias out of it. I have to go Superman, but overall, just all in all, I'd put Wonder Woman first because the structure of the story, it hit on all those emotional moments, that rally. Shock value only goes so far. So I didn't want to use the bias from reading issue 2 to go into this. So just one on its own merits, I would put behind Wonder Woman. So for me, the best is Wonder Woman, then Batman, then Superman, all of which are must-read comics. But I am excited to hear what everyone else would think. And I want you to leave a comment down below. So that's it for me. We'll be back talking about some more DC stuff and talking about Absolute Batman #2, which was fantastic. Don't miss that. Yo, it is amazing. Until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.